bird flu and influenza virus can be very dangerous to birds. There is cause for concern because particles of the virus has been found in milk that humans are consuming. Now, pasteurization so far seems to be stopping the virus from growing and infecting people, but there's so much more to learn. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. Hope you're doing well out there. I'm a board-certified pediatrician in Tampa, Florida, where I focus very much about nutrition, clean water, clean food, clean air, clean supplements, clean everything. And today we're going to be talking about clean food, and in particular, this bird flu that has been found in the cow milk supply. Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit more about what the bird flu is, what has actually been found in the cow milk, what is this really concerning to humans, and what is still unknown. So let's get this unpacked. So bird flu, as I said, is an influenza virus, H5N1. If you remember back when there was the swine flu about a decade ago, that was H1N1. So this is different. It's still an animal, mostly viral, but all of the influenza viruses have an H and an N to it. It's also referred to as highly pathogenic avian influenza A. So there's influenza A and B. Now, the highly pathogenic part is to birds, not to humans, just to be clear on that. But it is very contagious among birds, and it can be deadly, especially amongst poultry. Okay, and you may start to realize that's maybe where the farm aspect of this, where may this be all be kind of crossing over to. Now, there have been very, very few cases of this in human beings. Okay, and most of the time, if it has been found, it's been in farm workers. There has been a recent case this year where the farm worker developed conjunctivitis, pink eye, so it didn't cause some of the devastating things that influenza can cause in this. But of course, they're still new, and we don't even know yet if all of the human cases have been identified so far. Now, as far as this goes, there have also been very, very rare cases of human to human spread. Okay, so, the question is, how would humans be getting it so far? But there's also some concern that the virus itself could mutate, so that way it could potentially be more of a human to human, or be more contagious for humans, or to catch it. So there's still, again, that's one of the things we don't know about, but that's still obviously a concern. So we're going to have to see about that. Now, what are the findings so far? So first of all, no doubt there have been sick cattle. So this is bird flu, but it is crossed over into cattle. There have been 12 herds in Texas that the virus has been found in the milk. 6 in New Mexico and Michigan, 4 in, and these are herds, not number of cows. This is the herd themselves. 4 in Kansas, 2 in Idaho, 1 herd each in Ohio, North Carolina, South Dakota, and Colorado. Okay. Now, to be clear, what has been found through PCR testing are particles of the virus. This is very different than live virus. Live virus would be potentially much more devastating, but that's not what we've seen so far. Now, and again, this is preliminary. I'm not saying that it's not found, that it can't be live. It just hasn't been found so far. Okay. And of course, only a live virus can infect other people, or for that matter, other creatures. But so far, nationwide sampling has found through the PCR testing, 1 in 5 store-bought milk samples does have particles of this H5N1 influenza virus. And especially in the Midwest, where obviously those herds were found, 39% of the samples have evidence of this particle. So is that really for concern? We'll get there in a minute. However, pasteurization. Pasteurization is when milk is heated to a certain temperature that is a temperature high enough that should kill off viruses. And so far in a laboratory, the influenza viruses, including this one, has been shown to be killed by through pasteurization. Now, of course, in a laboratory could be different than what's happening in real life. We know that that's sometimes how it is, but at least, of course, that's good and a reassuring information so far. Now, also in eggs, and this has been tested a lot more because eggs are also pasteurized. And of course, being from bird flu and chickens, they have found that pasteurization of eggs also has killed the virus, so that there's not live virus in it. Okay. Now, so obviously, if the temperature which is used for milk for pasteurization is higher than eggs, then there's reasonable good belief that should take care of it. Now, just to be clear, raw milk, and I know that I have patients, I know people, especially in the holistic world, prefer raw milk, but this is important because raw milk is not pasteurized, it is not heated, and so therefore the potential that it could be more present and potentially even alive in raw milk, we haven't ruled that out yet. There hasn't been as incidents of it so far, so we're not saying, oh, this is for sure a bad thing, although I'm sure that powers that be in big dairy industry would want you to be thinking that also, that we pasteurize our milk. And we're not saying that, but just to be aware, it is possible. And in fact, in my opinion, kind of probable that if it does get into raw milk, it's there. Now, of course, we do not know if drinking the milk causes a problem, though, right? Because influenza is usually inhaled, right? Not necessarily swallowed. So even if there was live virus, we don't know relatively coming through the stomach acids if it kills it off or not. If the enzymes break it down, we do not know the answer to that question, but certainly more of a potential issue in raw milk. Okay, now in terms of as far as any form of milk whatsoever causing problems in humans, that's another thing. And today this video is being recorded on April 29th. There have not been any cases in America where a person caught influenza from drinking the milk, the bird flu from the milk. So again, that's reassuring, but we're still really early in the story. Okay, so I kind of alluded to that there's some things that are unknown. I want to kind of review that a little bit more. So how widespread is this virus in dairy cattle? We just don't know. Okay, sick cattle, as we said, not cannibal. Why did I say that? Sick cattle has been identified in all of these herds, but it has not been widespread. There has not been widespread screening among all the herds sampled from the cows. So again, we do not know. In my opinion, it is likely that we are going to see much more of this. There have been sick cattle, like not just asymptomatic, but there are sick cattle, okay, that have been found. So one of the things that they're going to be doing, and one of the questions we don't know, could those cows have asymptomatic spread? We certainly know that other viruses can. So could a cow not be physically sick, but could they still be contagious? Could those cows still pass it along to the milk? Again, we don't know. But in terms of this, now, going forward, the FDA has said that there will be a mandatory reporting of all positive cases. Okay, so again, that's not screening, that is positive cases. So it's kind of like measles or anything else that chickenpox, that if there's a positive, you have to report it. And so that's obviously up to the farmers to do that, or the veterinarians who take care of them. Now, also, there is a requirement, and this is more to contain the spread, that any cattle that must test negative before it's being sent across state lines. So in commerce of cows, etc. So again, that's another thing that can help decrease the spread, is if it's kept local. Now, another thing we don't know is how is this actually being spread among cattle? Because there's a couple of different ways that this can happen, potentially. Again, the most obvious would be if there was sick respiratory, coughing or sneezing cows within the herd, that they're right there in each other's face, maybe at the feed or whatever, that they can get them passed along the way that we think of ourselves passing along influenza. What we don't know yet even, though, is can it be passed along in the milk from mother to calf, from cow to calf? Again, we don't know. Could it be coming from contaminated milk equipment? Right? So maybe it's not that all of the animals doing, but if they obviously pop it on one cow and they milk the cow and then they take all the equipment off and they pop it on the second one, could that second cow catch it through the contaminated machinery? Again, we do not know the answer to that. Now, also, since a lot of farms not just have cattle, they have poultry, how much of this could potentially be from poultry or other birds on the farm that's giving it to the cattle, as opposed to cattle spread? So lots we still do not know. But of course, what we also don't know is if it is live in the milk, as I said, does that get people sick? We don't know. Okay. And again, the other thing which we don't know, which is the scariest thing, is how likely is this thing to mutate so that it does become contagious between humans and pass between humans? And of course, that would be a whole another nightmare if we start to see that happen. Okay. So what can we do about it? In all honesty, from a raw milk perspective, until we have a better handle on this, avoiding raw milk in terms of the likelihood of getting a human sick, until we know more, that is probably a good idea. I realize not everybody will do that, but at least that's my assessment until we know, can it be passed and cause humans to be sick. Okay, because raw milk, by the way, it's not pasteurized, if that wasn't obvious. Now, of course, another thing, if you're really concerned about getting these particles, or until we know whether there's actually, more evidence, if there's evidence at all, of it being alive in dairy, would be to avoid dairy altogether, right? There's plant-based milks, there's other types of products. We could be avoiding cow-based dairy, using those plant-based milks. But one thing I do point out, because obviously an advantage of cow milk, or goat milk for that matter, I haven't heard anything about goat milk with this, by the way, is that we know that there is high amounts of protein and calcium in animal-based milk, human, of course, as well. But at the same time, we know that a lot of plant-based milks don't not all of them have any calcium, some of them don't, and also how much protein. So if a person is going to be giving up dairy because of this, make sure that you're getting your protein and your calcium through the other sources. Okay, now, again, this is a very evolving story. We just do not know what this is, so stay tuned. Okay, if there's any other breaking news, of course, if there's anything big, I'll be presenting an updated video. Hopefully we won't, and we'll find out there's not there. I'll probably, if there's some conclusions, just kind of put a wrap on this as well. So hopefully you learned something new. Of course, as always, please share this with other people. Please subscribe to this channel if you like what you're hearing, help get our numbers up. And of course, if you want to support our work and support what I do, please become a Patreon member, where we really would appreciate that. Have a great day.